In the middle of the Cold War, a small team of American commandos broke into one of the most sensitive naval bases in the United States. They slipped past guards, they planted explosives near nuclear weapons. They entered a submarine and rigged it with charges. They even placed bombs inside a military hospital. Then, instead of escaping, their commander calmly walked into the base headquarters and told the officers exactly what they had done. This was not a terrorist attack. This was a secret U.S. military unit whose job was to act like terrorists, to expose how vulnerable America really was. They were called Red Cell, and they were led by one of the most controversial figures in modern American military history. The story starts with Richard Marcinko. Born in Pennsylvania in 1940, Marcinko did not come from an elite background. He dropped out of school and joined the Navy in 1958. He began as a radio man, but volunteered for one of the toughest pipelines in the military at the time, the underwater demolition teams that later evolved into the Navy SEALs. By the mid-1960s, he had become an officer and joined United States Navy SEALs. He served 2 tours in Vietnam, earning multiple decorations for combat actions. Stories circulated that North Vietnamese forces placed a bounty on him. But his real impact on U.S. history came after Vietnam. In 1980, the United States watched in shock as Operation Eagle Claw failed disastrously in the Iranian desert. 8 American servicemen were killed trying to rescue hostages in Tehran. The failure exposed something uncomfortable. The U.S. did not have a dedicated, rapidly deployable counter-terror unit prepared for complex missions. Marcinko was given the job of fixing that. He created SEAL Team 6. The name itself was deception. There were no Teams 3, 4, or 5. The Soviets did not know that. His methods were unconventional. Discipline was loose. Camaraderie was built in ways that made senior officers nervous. But the results were hard to ignore. By 1983, Marcinko had done something even more unusual. He turned his attention away from fighting enemies overseas and toward America's own military bases. Terrorism fears were rising. Intelligence agencies warned that U.S. installations at home were potential targets. Marcinko was ordered to test that theory. He formed a 13-man unit made of SEALs and a Marine. Their mission was simple: break into America's most secure naval bases, simulate terrorist attacks, expose every weakness. This unit became Red Cell. These operations were not random. Base commanders were warned in advance that an exercise would occur. Neutral observers watched. A Navy lawyer monitored legality. But once the exercise began, Red Cell would act exactly as a real terrorist team would. Their first trial run was at Naval Station Norfolk. Smoke bombs, fake explosives, security gaps everywhere. That was just the warm-up. The real test came in June 1985 at Naval Submarine Base New London, home to nuclear submarines. Before the operation even started, Red Cell noticed shocking problems. No proper gate at the entrance, rusty chain-link fences, a cliffside perimeter with no barrier at all, an ordnance facility at the bottom protected by a single fence. They flew a small plane over the submarine pens. No response. They rented a boat, sailed close to restricted areas, and openly waved a Soviet flag while taking photos. Still no reaction. Then the exercise began. Red Cell climbed down the unguarded cliff at night. They entered the ordnance facility, silently bypassed a sentry, broke inside, planted dummy explosives on torpedoes and nuclear materials. The next day, a 4-man team swam ashore, changed into civilian clothes, walked through the base, and attached fake bombs to a submarine's control surfaces. They entered another submarine and placed charges inside. Other members planted explosives in the hospital, headquarters, and communications buildings. The entire operation was recorded on video. When it was over, Marcinko sat down with base leadership and showed them exactly how easily their nuclear facility had been compromised. But Red Cell was not finished. Later that year, during Labor Day weekend, Red Cell targeted Naval Air Station Point Mugu in California. They passed through weak gate security. They placed dummy explosives inside the air intakes of FA-18 fighters. They disrupted communications. Then they stole a weapons carrier, loaded a fake 500-pound bomb onto it, covered it with a plastic tarp, and parked it in the officers' barracks parking lot for the entire holiday weekend. No one noticed. Then they saw something even more alarming. Parked on the tarmac was Air Force One. At the time, President Ronald Reagan often vacationed at his ranch nearby. Red Cell drove the weapons carrier right up next to the presidential aircraft, simulated detonating the device. Then they simply walked away. If this had been real, the President of the United States would have been in serious danger. Not everyone believed Red Cell's methods were justified. During a 1986 exercise, a civilian security officer claimed he was violently mistreated during a simulated capture. Marcinko denied it. Investigations followed. The incident created major backlash. Senior leadership began to feel that Red Cell was going too far. By the late 1980s, Marcinko was removed from the program and retired from the Navy. In 1990, he was convicted on fraud charges related to government contracts and served time in prison. In 1992, he published his autobiography Rogue Warrior, which became a bestseller and turned him into a larger-than-life public figure. He later worked as a security consultant and media personality. He passed away in 2021 at the age of 81. Red Cell exposed something uncomfortable but important. America's most sensitive military installations were not nearly as secure as officials believed. Gates could be bypassed, guards could be fooled, procedures could be exploited, and if a small group of SEALs could do it during an exercise, a real terrorist group could do it for real. Many of the security changes at U.S. bases in the late Cold War and after were influenced by the lessons Red Cell forced the military to confront. The idea of red teaming is now standard across the U.S. military, intelligence community, and even cybersecurity. You deliberately attack your own system before someone else does. Red Cell never fought a foreign enemy. They attacked America's defenses to protect America from something worse. And at the center of it all was Richard Marcinko, a man admired by some, criticized by others, but impossible to ignore. Because sometimes the most dangerous threat is not outside the fence. It is the belief that the fence is strong enough.